Hai, Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi. Salam PKP. Diharapkan semua masih dalam keadaan yang baik sepanjang PKP pada hari ini. Terima kasih kepada tuan-puan sudi bersama kami lagi hari ini dengan topik yang lebih menarik iaitu fine motor skill. Hari ini kita akan bersama panel kita Miss Rebecca selaku OT yang akan menerangkan mengenai fine motor skill dan insya-Allah boleh menjawab persoalan yang mungkin selalu berlega di dalam kepala kita. Sebelum kita meneruskan sesi pada pagi ini, sedikit latar belakang ingin saya kongsikan mengenai panel kita pada hari ini, iaitu Miss Rebecca ataupun Revati. Lebih dikenali sebagai Teacher Rebecca, berkelulusan ijazah sarjana muda daripada University 𝐏𝐚𝐬𝐿, United Kingdom dan mempunyai pengalaman lebih 2 tahun mengendalikan kanak-kanak autism. Kepada tuan-puan, jika mempunyai sebarang persoalan boleh diajukan di ruangan chat FB Live kami dan segala persoalan akan cuba dijawab pada hujung sesi. Okey, baiklah, tanpa melengahkan masa lagi, saya akan menyerahkan program ini kepada panel kita iaitu Miss Rebecca. Silakan.
Okay, thank you, Puan Hani. Alright, good morning and welcome everyone. This is your next topic from team OOTG, Occupational Therapists on the Go. My name is Revati Rebecca, also known as Teacher Rebecca. I would like to apologize in advance about my BM isn't so good, so the whole session will be done in English. Okay, so feel free to ask any questions at any point in the chat group and we will try our very best to adhere to all the questions, to answer all of them. Okay, so before I start, I'll just introduce myself again. I'm Rebecca and I completed my degree in occupational therapy in York St. John University in the United Kingdom. I've been with Genius Kurnia for 2 years now, specializing in autism. And in Genius Kurnia, we are also known as interventionists, not only as occupational therapists. We are known as interventionists because we work as a transdisciplinary team. Okay, so thank you so much for all your patience. Thank you for waiting. Without further ado, I will carry on with the slides. Okay, I have to remain cool. Okay. All right, so everyone, you can see my slides, right? Thank you so much. There's some technical issues just now. So if we can carry on, today I'll be talking about fine motor skills, also known as kemahiran motor halus in bahasa. Okay, let's go on to the first slide. All right, so before I start, I'll just go through for the agenda for today. I think you're all familiar with the 5 wives and 1 husband, which means I'll be talking about what is fine motor skill, why it is important, who needs fine motor skills, what, where and when we can use fine motor skills, and how do we know if our children is lacking or has difficulty with their fine motor skills. So first, Please stay tuned because there'll be some interesting worksheets which will be provided at the end of the talk as well. All right. So let's look at the first slide. What is fine motor skills, or also known as fine motor development? So it involves more precise movement of small muscles. For example, if you look at your hand, you can see fine motor skills involves your hand, your entire hand, your wrist, your fingers, your thumb, and also your feet, toes, and eyes. Why eyes is really important in your fine motor skills is because most of our fine motor skills require hand-eye coordination, which means if you look at the bottom, the ability to see something and to respond with the right movements in the hands and fingers. For example, if you were to see a bottle right in front of you, so the movement of reacting to reach and grasp the bottle, that is called hand-eye coordination. It works simultaneously. Okay, so that is basically a very short and simple way of defining what fine motor is all about. Okay, the next slide, if you look at this is the typical child's timeline of fine motor development. So as parents, I'm sure you're aware that usually from 0 to 18 months, you're able to actually see the progress of your child. For example, you can see very, very obvious responses or reflexes such as grasping, or the kids trying to reach to for their toy, or them trying to actually do both the movements together and trying to be in control. Pincher grasp is actually your index finger and your thumb together, these two. So this two is known as the pincher grasp. And also about control release. Okay, this is a very typical timeline of a normal fine motor development. If you notice, if some of your kids are not able to reach, or they have difficulty with their pincher grasp, then we know your child lacks or has difficulty with their fine motor skills. All right, this is just a timeline to compare. Okay, so why fine motor skill is really important for children, or even as an adult, we all need fine motor skills. Okay, first of all, let's look at, as I mentioned much earlier, hand-eye coordination, what they see and what they hold. This is also known as visual motor skills. Visual simply because it is visual, which is your eye. Motor is your hand. This is actually known as motor, so which is why it is also known as visual motor skills. So hand-eye coordination is, again, as I said, you use two hands together to reach to an object. So for example, could be opening a jar lid. So you would, if you notice, the way you open a jar lid is you will hold one hand you use one hand to hold the bottle and the other to turn the lid around. So this is what is called hand-eye coordination, using both hands together. Okay, second reason why fine motor skill is really, really important is because also for self-care, in terms of brushing teeth, washing hands, dressing up, showering, putting on your shoes. Basically, most parents, as soon as they hear fine motor skills, it's always about handwriting skills. Handwriting is part of a motor skill, fine motor skill, but there is more a bigger range when we look at fine motor skills. All right. So self-care is definitely one of the big reason why fine motor skill is really important. Object manipulation. Also, this includes like zipping, twisting, and buttoning, because they will have to, for example, buttoning. If your child were to button a shirt, if you realize your child usually, a child that lacks or has difficulty with fine motor skills, it is much more difficult for them to actually button shirts. So because it requires manipulation, you're using both your hands. So this is why it's very important in order for them to dress themselves independently. Object manipulation is very, very important. The next one could be crossing midline. If you can see the diagram on your left, the picture that I shared, crossing the midline simply is if you take your right hand and try to touch your left toe, your left leg, your toes on your left leg. So it kind of, you have to have a good balance this is where your body awareness comes in, your proprioception, where your brain is able to balance your body when you're actually crossing your midline. Your midline is right in the middle, which is your right side and your left side. Okay. So this is why it's also very important. If you actually try, you can test this with your children at home. If you ask them to take their right hand and touch your left foot, it will be slightly more challenging for them to follow it. Okay, next will be hand and finger strength, the ability to exert force against resistance. For example, a rubber, if you're going to use a rubber band, so it's against resistance. So this will actually help them with their hand and finger strength, which is why fine motor skills is really important as well. Next will be hand division. Hand division is simply your three fingers, which is one, your thumb, and your second is your index finger, and third is your middle finger. These three fingers are actually used for manipulation, which is your manipulation skills, such as zipping, twisting, and buttoning as well. Okay, this is all integrated together. And then the next one, you can also see bilateral integration. Like I mentioned much earlier, opening a jar lid. It goes hand in hand with hand-eye coordination. The next one would be ability to use technology. Of course, knowing our kids in the latest technology world, they are very good at using their technology, and it's very important that our kids are also exposed to a certain amount of technology of these days. For example, the phone, the iPad. So I'm sure all parents, you can agree with me, kids these days, they just know how to find and go to YouTube, find their Peppa Pig or Didi and Friends. So it's actually very important in order for them to also engage in the current technology world. And lastly, like I mentioned before, your body awareness, proprioception. Okay, and the main reason why we want to learn fine motor skills, if you look at this GIF, it's all about independence. So parents, you can hope your child to be like this in the future, and you will be running like this after them. Okay, this is exactly why fine motor skills is very important. We always want to work towards our children's independence in terms of all the skills that I mentioned much earlier. Okay, so the next wife will be who actually needs fine motor skills, or who is involved in fine motor skills is all of us. It's not that only children with autism has fine motor skills, but all of us will need to do fine motor skills. All right. Just give me a moment. Sorry, due to a technical error, just give me few seconds. I'm going to switch to a different laptop. Just give me a few seconds. I'm really sorry about the technical issues. Just give me 1 second. Thank you. Okay. Hi, I'm so sorry again. Please hang in there with me. Okay. All right. I hope it goes smoothly from here. Okay. All right. Again, I'll just recap again. Based on whatever that I've actually explained much earlier, we will actually focus on 6 basic actions which involves in fine motor skills. First one, if you look at the first one, is reaching. Reaching is simply moving your arm to grasp or touch an object, which is, of course, to touch a bottle. Grasping is using your fingers to get an object, which is to hold it, you grasp it. Carrying, of course, we all know we use both our hands. Is to move an object from point A to point B. This is carrying, okay? Releasing is, of course, letting go of an object. For example, if I have a pen, this is what happens. I release it, okay? In-hand manipulation is using fingers to adjust an object inside your hand. For example, remember if you have a coin inside your hand, so this is called in-hand manipulation. We are trying to adjust to get the coin to our pincer grab. So this is actually called in-hand manipulation. And of course, bilateral hand use is using both hands in an activity. I'm very sure at the end of this talk, you will know by heart what is hand-eye coordination, because I've repeated them quite some time. Quite a couple of times. Okay, so the next one, let's go to the husband. All the wives have been covered: the who, the why, the what, the where, and when. Okay, so how can I tell if my child has problems with fine motor skills? Parents, I'm sure you can relate to a few of these points, because I think you can notice this in our with children with autism. You can see there is an awkward or an immature pencil grasp for their age. For example, they are probably like 5 or 6 years old, but they are still in their first palmar grip, which is this. If you can see how I'm holding the pen, they're probably still doing this. Okay, this is actually called an immature pencil grasp. And they might also have messy, slow, or laborious drawing, coloring, or writing skills. I think this is most parents' concern, is they will have a very messy writing skills. Yeah, probably I will elaborate a little more on that later. Okay, so if you can see, some of it also is the refusal to use stylus with the iPad. I'm sure most parents, like Samsung phones, for example, some of them, it comes with a stylus, and also on with iPad, right? The stylus is like a pen-like, where they can scribble and write around. So if you actually notice, some of our kids, the children with autism, they tend to refuse to use the stylus because it's equivalent to writing, so they probably would not prefer that, and they will probably go with their finger, which is also a good way of improving their fine motor skills in terms of their fingers. But of course, we would like to train them more towards their handwriting skills. Okay, and another common difficulty that our children with autism have is having difficulty when they are using scissors. I'm very, very sure, parents, you can relate with me when I say some of the children, they are unable to hold the scissors the right way. They cannot cut the paper in a straight line, so they have difficulty with this. Okay, and they also have difficulty performing precise manipulation tasks, as I mentioned before, like doing up buttons is actually very, very challenging, and also tying shoelaces. It's a much more difficult task for them to complete, because due to their lack of ability with their fine motor skills. Okay, they also probably will dislike precise hand and eye coordination, for example, construction, like building blocks or playing with Lego. So they will probably try to avoid playing with those toys if they have really poor fine motor skills. And they might also have difficulty performing age-appropriate self-care tasks independently. For example, toileting, like, trying to take the pipe and wash yourself, or try and pull down your pants. They might have difficulty performing those self-care tasks. And of course, difficulty mastering new fine motor tasks. For example, if you would use a new task, which is handwriting, so they will find it very difficult if we have not
if they still have poor fine motor skills and they have not worked on it, or they have not done therapy for it, you can see that if we were to introduce a new task, it will be more challenging as well. And of course, our kids who does not like handwriting, or if they have really poor fine motor skills, you can see them avoiding sit down tasks because they would prefer physical activity like running. They're always hyper. They refuse to sit put at one place and give them sit down task activity. Okay, so this is how we can tell for new parents or teachers or even professionals, if you like to know how to detect if a child has poor fine motor skills. These are probably some of your cues that you can use to observe and notice how these kids are. Yeah. Okay. Just give me one. Okay. So the next slide. This is all about other challenges with fine motor difficulties. So it is not always about what is seen physically. Okay, for example, physically what we can see, okay, this child A is unable to do handwriting, or he dislikes handwriting because it takes a lot of effort. So when he dislikes something, this is where other challenges with fine motor difficulties occur, such as probably behavior. So they may try to avoid or try to refuse to participate in any motor task given to them. So they might have behavior such as frustration. They tend to show frustration, and of course refusal to participate in completing an activity for sure. And also they'll tend to show like task avoidance. This is very, very familiar with children with autism, especially if they have poor fine motor skills. They tend to avoid all the tasks as much as they can. If they wish to throw all the tantrums that they want, or they might be screaming, crying, they will just refuse to do tasks. And the reason why they sometimes show so much frustration, task avoidance behavior, is not only that they have poor motor skills or fine motor skills, but maybe in terms of their self-esteem, it may have dropped. Imagine yourself, if you actually have a low self-esteem or low self-confidence, it will be much more challenging for you as a person to shine, or to do your best or to show your best. Probably when you have so low self-esteem, you will also have like moody moods. You wouldn't want anyone to disturb you. So it's pretty much the same with children with autism. Just because they're autistic, it doesn't mean they're not human. Yeah, they're just like us. And I realized that with fine motor skills especially, I will explain later on why with fine motor it may be more challenging for them. Later on in the slides, I will explain. So, of course, again, low self-esteem. This is where academic ability and also academic performance comes hand in hand. For example, in terms of academic ability, when they dislike a certain task or a handwriting, for example, when they have their frustrations, this is where they are definitely going to portray that they have poor writing, drawing, or even coloring skills. If you notice, some parents, I think you understand when I say the children, they refuse to draw or color, or they find it very challenging for them, or simply they try to not do all these tasks because it requires a lot of energy. And also, this is where when your academic ability, when it is poor, it will affect your academic performance as well. Meaning, like when they feel they have low self-esteem, they are unable to shine or to show their confidence is not there, and they are going to show all their behaviors and do not perform at their best with their writing skills or coloring skills. It will also show a drop in their performance, and this is where they call regression, or maybe when you're actually measuring progress, it's very difficult to see their progress because, of course, we want to tackle all of that issues. They are going to show that at the moment because of their dislike with activities or tasks that relates with your fine motor skills. Okay, and of course, lastly, computer skills. If I'm looking at computer skills, right? as I mentioned before, children probably will not like to use the keypad or the mouse, even for example, with the laptop. So these are also other challenges in terms of trying to have. I mean, right now we are looking at an inclusive environment. We are trying to include these kids, these children with autism, into a normal daily routine. So computer skills is definitely a highly competent skill at the current technology world, with our current technology world, right, with all the requirements for high technology. So it will definitely affect computer skills, and which is why this will be another main challenges for parents out there or teachers even, in order for us to teach our kids about fine motor skills. Yeah. So I'll probably show you more examples and videos later on, and also strategies on how you can try to work on these skills. Okay. Okay, so what skills do fine motor skills include? So we are going to look at top 3 skills. I'll be focusing on academic skills, play skills, and self-care skills. And if you look at this picture, this is exactly what I was explaining much earlier. If you look at your child's fine motor development from 0 to like about 18 months, you can see these are the obvious changes that they attend to, which involves a lot of fine motor skills, which is why fine motor skills is really important as well. Okay, so let's look at the first one, academic skills. What is included in our academic skills for fine motor? There is, of course, pencil skills, the main one. I think most parents are really concerned about your pencil skills. And this is where your handwriting comes in: scribbling, coloring, drawing, and writing. Scissor skills, as I mentioned earlier, cutting. If you look at this picture, it's very difficult for them to actually use just their 3 fingers, or how to control the scissors. But of course, this takes practice over time. Yeah, it's not that it's impossible. It will just they require more practices. Okay, and also stationery use. So when we actually look at academic skills, right, most parents, when I say fine motor skills, as I mentioned before, they have this immediate idea of, oh, fine motor skills is all about handwriting. No, if you actually look at the basis of fine motor skills, it also involves stationery use. For example, school-related tasks like stapler. Are they able to staple papers? Are they able to punch? Can they actually use a paper clip and try to clip a few papers together? A simple thing as ruler as well. Do you think your children are able to hold a ruler and just draw a straight line using the ruler? So this requires a lot of fine motor skills, a lot of improvement, and a lot of practice. Sharpener, even rubber, for them to erase if they've written something, and for them to erase them, it will be a slightly more challenging for them. Okay, so these are what we are looking for when fine motor skills. In terms of academic skills, this is what we are probably trying to help these kids or target for their progression. Okay. All right, handwriting skills. So there was a Google form sent out to all the Genius Kurnia parents. Thank you so much for sending in all your questions. So I did notice that there were a lot of requests for handwriting skills. For today, I will only touch base and probably give you a little bit techniques about handwriting skills, because team OOTG, we will be having another topic only about handwriting skills, so that we will leave the deeper theory part and practical part for the next session. But as of today, I will just touch base so that parents out there, or teachers, or even professionals, that you have an idea what handwriting skills is all about. And for our kids until like 6 to 7 years old, right, by the age of 7, they should be able to have tripod grasp. But I think most parents concerned right now, sometimes kids are at this cylindrical grasp, which is like this, or also they call it as palmar grasp. Okay, and then you can also see digital grasp is probably like this. They try to hold a pencil or a pen like that. And then modified is working towards it. And of course, your most mature handwriting, tripod. The reason why it's called tripod grasp is very simple. Your first 3 fingers, your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger. Only these three. If you notice, when you hold a pencil or a pen, you only require these three muscles, these three fingers. Your thumb, your index, and your middle finger, which is why it's called tripod. Tri meaning three. Okay. Okay, so these are some of the multi-sensory techniques that parents out there can use for their kids. Okay, ball-lined paper. If you look at this picture, I'm not sure if it's very obvious or very clear on your end, but I'll be providing a worksheet, a free worksheet, which parents you can use with your children at home. It's called a bold-lined paper. So if you look at both these lines, you just have to bold it. Maybe you can use a marker pen to bold it in order for the kids to visualize, okay, they have to write within the two bolded lines. Or another fun way to do it is you can glue the top and bottom of the line. Top and bottom, you can glue it. And so when the child tries to write, if they were to run out of the line, they will feel a bump. So that bump kind of like, it's like a hump. Like, you know, when you drive, when you see a hump, you have to stop. It's the same thing. So when they have a bump between two lines, automatically the child will try to write in between. Of course, all of this requires a lot of practice. It cannot be achieved in one day, unfortunately. This will take a lot of practice. Okay, so parents, these are some one way of doing practicing. If you like to practice handwriting with your children, for those who are able to write, you can use this. Okay, for those parents who are trying to teach handwriting to kids, you can do a lot of tracing and mazes. Actually, all parents, if you're very concerned about handwriting, doing maze, which is this, is very, very important. For me, with my kids here in Genius Kurnia, I do a lot of maze with them because it helps the child. And of course, this is a much more complicated maze. You can start with a very, very basic and simple maze where they only have one line connecting probably from the end to the sugar. So probably there's a few lines connecting like a maze. So the reason why I would use maze is because it will allow the child to actually be in control of his writing. So he or she will understand, okay, when I complete this maze, my hand has to be in between the lines. So this will actually help them in terms of writing between both the bolded lines as well. Okay. Another fun way, parents, if you look at this picture, you can use your toys, very simple toys. I'm sure all these kids, they love cars or fire truck. You can put, as you can see in the picture, you can put a marker pen right in front and tape it. So that way you can also like combine like play skills in between. Like, okay, let's do a straight line. So you can open the marker pen, the cover here, and then you can just move it forward and backward. So just for them to have a feel, and then you can show them on a piece of paper, oh look, you've drawn a straight line. So it's just to create a more interactive and a fun way of doing handwriting. Okay, it's not just paper and pen, write it. Okay, it's of course it's very, very boring. So we try to make it as interesting as we can. Yeah. Another way, if parents, if you like to improve your handwriting for your children, you can try sensory freezer bag writing. I'm very sure most parents, you're very familiar with this. For those who are not, I'll explain. Basically, you just have to find a Ziploc. You know, in IKEA, they have those transparent bags. So that is actually called a Ziploc. What you can do, you can either buy colored hair gel or even use a clear hair gel, and you can put it inside the zip bag and seal it. So, and then you flatten it, you put it on the table and you flatten it. What you can do, you can actually prompt your child to do letters or draw shapes or numbers on that gel. So the resistance will allow them to feel how letters or numbers can be written. Another interesting way you could use is, if you look at our pencil, right? And you know, some pencils where the 2B pencils at the top, they have the rubber, the eraser or the rubber at the top, right? Some pencils are like that. So you just flip it. That means you use the rubber and you can just trace it on that sensory bag. It is actually very, very helpful for these kids. You can also make a game. this is where you can improve your fine motor skills as well. Make a game in terms of rice races. Okay, this rice races is maybe you can get two bags, two Ziploc bags again, and put uncooked rice inside. And maybe you can have like a competition. Okay, like, hey, look, who can let's race, see who can transfer all the rice seeds together, you know, like who can do it first. So parents, you can make it more interesting, like a competition to see like, okay, who the winner will get like a reward or a gift, something like that. If rice is too small, because rice is really small, your pincher grass must be really, really good to pick it up. If it's very, very challenging for the kids, you can use cereal, because cereals are slightly fatter and bigger. You can start with cereal first. Okay, and water play, of course, is anything and everything that you can do that involves water play. I'm very sure a lot of these kids, they love water, because water is, of course, an element to calm them down in terms of their mood or their behavior as well. Another interesting technique I would like to share with you, which involves multisensory, would be, it's called the wet, dry, and try. Okay, if you look at the explanation, first you just need a sponge. Okay, you wet a sponge cube and then you squeeze it out. You get your child to do this, yeah, parents. As much as we would, sometimes we pity our kids and we really, really want to help them out. Fine motor skills, we need them to do it on their own. And if they are unable to do so, that's where we guide them. Okay, so what you can do is, parents, you can support your hands from the top. So you get prompt your child to get the sponge, wet it and squeeze it out. And if you look at this is called a slate. So parents, you already write the letter A on this board, right? So you already wrote it. So after the child has actually wet the cube and squeezed it out, they use that the wet sponge, and they write it here. They write it here first, just to copy your A again. Once they are done using that, then you get them a dry sponge and ask them to trace it on the wet letter that you have written just now, for example, A. And then finally, once they have already used the dry sponge, then they can use using chalk, which is this. This is the final step. So if you want, you can take a picture of this slide. If you need me to explain this again, maybe I can explain it towards the end of the session. All right. So these are some simple multisensory techniques that parents, you can use, or teachers out there, or parents or professionals out there, you can use to teach children with autism in order for them to improve their handwriting skills. Okay. All right, next we're looking at play skills. Okay, look, as I mentioned before, play skills, it involves construction skills using Duplo, Lego, puzzles, trains, tracks, for example. I would suggest parents to start with Duplo first. If the kids, if your child has really low fine motor skills or poor fine motor skills, Duplo is a good start. This is Duplo. It's pretty much like Lego. I'm sure all of you are very, very aware. I think most parents who have been to Toys R Us or who have tried, eventually you will know what are all of this. So Duplo is, of course, a bigger version of Lego. Lego is, of course, a little bit more challenging because it's much more smaller. So Duplo will be a good start. And then for play skills, fine motor skills, we will need doll dressing and manipulation. Okay, so I have also seen like some parents, you have asked the question like, how do I teach my child to do like buttoning? Okay, that requires your hand manipulation, right? So you can do one of it. You can do is doll dressing, getting them to dress the doll and do the buttons. Okay, play skills also involve IT use, as I mentioned much earlier. It's all about the mouse and stylus manipulation. If you look at this, these are the stylus. This is the stylus. So this is where fine motor skills comes in very important as well. It's not just academic, play. Because kids, of course, as children, they love to play. So when they play, all these are involved with your fine motor skills as well. And the third one, of course, is called self-care skills. So fine motor skills is very, very important for self-care. If you look at dressing, I mean, we need to teach our kids how to tie their shoelaces, you know, pull up the zips or pull down the zips, put on your button, even your belt. So if you can see this child, this is called tying shoelace. So I think most parents, you I understand that most of these kids with our children with autism, they find it very, very difficult or challenging to actually tie shoelaces. So these are the skills that we are looking at when we say fine motor skills. It is not only about handwriting, it is also about this kind of dressing skills. And also, if you're looking at eating skills is we're using like cutlery, opening lunch boxes, food bags. So a child who actually has post fine motor skills, it will you can see them struggling using a spoon or even a fork to to probably eat sausages or anything like that. Even opening their lunchbox, they probably struggle, and they probably give it to you or the teachers and ask for help. And this is where parents at home, you can train all of these skills as well. Okay, with, of course, with the guidance of your occupational therapists or teachers out there. Okay, and not only just for dressing, eating, we can also look at hygienic skills. Cleaning your teeth by brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, and also, of course, toileting. Toileting is a very, very important self-care skill that we look at, that we look for in children. Okay, of course, we would want them to be able to go to the toilet independently. So this is where your fine motor skills are very important, because they will need their fine motor skills to like pull down their pants, or get the pipe to wash themselves, to be able to flush. Okay, this is where it comes all in handy. All right. Okay, so as I have mentioned before about all the skills that we can work on when it comes to fine motor skills, of course, there is also a level of prompt. I believe Teacher Hassani has shared it in his previous session, so I'd like to re-emphasize on this slide again. If you can see, of course, we are going to start with full physical prompt, which means parents will be behind the child and you'll be guiding them fully, like you're just fully guiding them, full physical support. Okay, partial physical support will be, for example, okay, 1 to 5 probably the parents will guide them to teach. Okay, 6 to 10 probably the child will have to write on his own, something like that. Okay, modeling, of course, we will model right in front of the child, show them what to do, visual and picture. Then we give them verbal instructions, then gestural, and then obviously we try to aim for the natural. Okay, so the first few steps, which is full physical, partial physical, and model, these are very, very important for the child. Okay, for example, if you take yourself, for example, if you do not know how to write at all, okay, for example, imagine yourself, you do not know how to do writing at all, and suddenly if I were to provide you just a piece of paper and a pen and say write, are you able to write? No, obviously you're going to struggle with it. So you would definitely want a full physical support. And this is what we have been receiving when we were young too. So this is very, very helpful for children with autism as well. Okay. All right. So I will show some activities and strategies that can be done at home. And of course, right now with PKP and MCO, everyone is mostly at home. So all the strategies and activities that I'm going to give, which can help parents out there to work with your child in terms of their fine motor skills, is as simple as using all the ingredients that you have at home. So you don't have to go to Shopee, you don't have to go to Lazada and buy, okay, probably one of it you will have to go to Lazada, but most of it, you will just have to use ingredients at home. Okay, let's look at the first one. Transferring pom-pom ball. I am very, very sure it's a very common activity or intervention that we use with our kids in terms of their fine motor skills, to improve their fine motor skills. I would like to inform parents that usually we will probably use like thongs in order to a thong. We'll probably use a thong to transfer the pom-pom ball, right? So maybe you can make it a little bit more challenging by using a clothespin, or in Malay, I think they call it penyepit baju. So you can use this. You can clip the pom-pom ball and you can transfer one by one. Okay, so this is a good way, a good start actually for fine motor skills. Next activity. Okay, this is a very interesting one. It's called trap, cut, and rescue. So parents, I'm very, very sure we all love to bake now. Everyone has become a baker ever since MCO. We've been baking muffins and cakes at home. So you can just use your muffin tray. You can put in toys. If you look at the picture, you can put in all the toys and you can put a tape at the top. Okay, so like a cross tape, and you get your child to cut the tape in order for them to get the toys out of it and place them in a bowl, just like this picture. Or you, instead of cutting, if they find it really difficult, you can start with tearing paper or crumpling paper, or even tearing tapes like this is very, very helpful for their fine motor skills. The beginning stages are really, really important. So this is a fun way of improving their fine motor skills. Okay. Before they can get to writing, they need to strengthen their fingers, their muscles, their hand strength before they could go to writing. All of these activities will enhance their writing skills. You cannot expect these kids to just write, just like how just like how you were not expected to just write suddenly. Your parents taught you, or teachers taught you how to write, same way. So all these fine motor activities will enhance their writing skills. All right. Oh, this is another interesting one. Animal tape rescue. So parents, I'm very, very sure some of these kids, they love like animals, the zoo animals. So probably you have like 50 of them or 100 of them even for some of the kids. So what you can do, parents, you can actually use a tape and tape them on a tray. So, and in this way, you can actually get the child to peel it off. So they will have to use like their index finger to peel it and scrape it off. So this will actually strengthen their pincher grasp, which is your thumb, your index finger. So it's a very good way and fun way to actually improve your fine motor skills. Okay, for handwriting, look at this salt tray. Okay, a simple pre-writing activity. So salt tray, I'm very sure parents at home, you can use, salt is not, I hope it's not very, very expensive these days. So you can buy a very big packet, you can just use it for writing. And if you look, you can place a visual card as triangle, a circle, and you can get the child to trace it, or even lines, you can get the child to trace it on the salt. Okay, this is another fun way of doing it. Be ready. Of course, be prepared to get a messy play out of it as well. Okay, another one is Play-Doh. I'm very sure all parents, you're very, very familiar with Play-Doh. So you can do activities like find the hidden treasure. So you can hide like, I think most Malay people, you have like guli. You can also hide your guli inside the Play-Doh and get the child to actually search and find for the toys. I'm sure parents, some of you are very, very familiar with this activity. You can get them to actually roll them like a snail, like a worm, and get them like the play scissors. You can get them to cut the Play-Doh. Okay, or you can also make shapes like roll the ball, splat the ball. Okay, things like that. Another very famous toys or activity you can do with your child is, of course, using the squishy ball. This is a squishy balls. I think you can get this even on Lazada, like probably 2-3 ringgit. Very, very cheap, very, very helpful for fine motor. So this can actually help to strengthen your squeeze, your grip. This is very important. Puffer ball, I think this you can get in Pasar Malam as well, where if you actually tap on it or hit on it, it will light up. So some familiar toys. All right, another one, therapy. I'm very, very sure if your child has been attending occupational therapy sessions, OT sessions at hospitals or any private centers, most OTs will actually use therapy to actually improve the child's fine motor skills. So if you can see, there are actually many levels here. Okay, you can see the extra soft is 10, and then we have yellow, which is extra soft, red, green, which is medium, blue, firm, and black, which is extra firm. So if you look at in Malaysia, I think we always use like yellow, red, green, and blue. These are like the most obvious ones. So parents, if you feel that your child, if you feel your child is getting better, for example, you have started with red, the soft one. Okay, your child has already mastered red. Get the green. So make it slightly more challenging according to the color. So gradually increase the resistance, the challenges for them. It will really help. Or you can also make it more interesting by making different size balls so that your child will have to press with different pressure. Of course, a bigger one requires more strength. So this is where they can, it will actually enhance their squeeze, their grip, and also their extend. Okay, in terms of extending. All right. Next, another one is sticker painting. Another was very familiar and common task that we do with our kids is sticker tracing. So you can simply draw lines or curvy lines and get them to put stickers. So in order for them to remove the sticker, take out a sticker, it requires your fine motor skills as well. Again, okay, it's all about your fingers. Yeah. Okay. Magnetic tiles. This is also another very important one for parents. It is not very expensive. I think within 20-30 ringgit on Lazada. I sound like I'm working for Lazada and trying to, promote the items. No, but I think you should. It's a fun way. It's a really, really fun way because it allows your child to actually improve their imagination skills as well in terms of they are able to actually build like using 2 or 3 dimensional shapes. So they will, it will actually help them to visualize and improve their imagination as well. So shape recognition, and they can also do building and construction skills, patterning skills in order for them to do different patterns, all their shapes. So this is actually also discovering, or we are also looking at improving their creativity. Okay, so these kids, I believe these kids, autistic children, they are so creative in their own way. And of course, we can also help them with sorting and stacking. Okay, and another one is blocks. This is all about your construction skills, building blocks. So I would say, parents, if you are very, very new to this, like for new parents or teachers who, if you're learning new knowledge for today, you can actually start with foam blocks because they are softer, they are much bigger and much easier to be handled. Or you can, like I mentioned earlier, Duplo sets, very big sets. So it is to allow the child to be comfortable and to understand the concept of building or constructing something. So as soon as they understand the whole objective of it, then we can move to smaller items like Lego. And we can also play this, like I said, water play. This is one interesting way of playing Lego in water. So, we can, if you have all this swimming pool, ready-made swimming pool, you can get these kids to play, or even just a small tree, you can fill it up with water. You can put all your Legos in and do building, like constructing. Another fun way is to work on your fine motor skills is blocks with Velcro. When there's resistance, they will require more strength. So in order for them to pull the 2 blocks apart. Okay, so this is another fun way of doing it. Okay, so those are some of the pictures that I've shared. These are some of the other examples of activities that you can do with your children at home. For example, as simple as stapling, just taking a paper and a stapler and stapling them, paper clipping, peeling masking tape, as I mentioned just now, tearing or crumpling paper, bubble wrap, like some of the, when we buy some biscuits or cookies, such as love letter or even any biscuits, you have the bubble wrap in. So you can get your children to actually burst it and using both your thumb and your index finger. So it's a very fun activity to burst all the bubble wrap. Even I like them. So it'll be really nice for them. Cotton swab. Okay, so we can also use really, really creative way or art and craft to improve a child's fine motor skills. It doesn't have to be mundane and dull. Okay, we can use like cotton swab. So probably like do cotton painting, have different paint colors and do cotton swab painting. Opening jar and closing jar lids, of course. Catch and throw is also very, very important. I think parents, if you realize, sometimes when you play catch and throw, not all kids are able to catch the ball when you throw to them because by the time they have a delayed response, if you realize. So we will need to work on catching and throwing, because that requires your hand-eye coordination, which is where your fine motor skills come in place as well. Okay, you can also do lime and spoon game. For example, remember back in school, I remember we used to have this competition, this game where you actually carry a spoon and you put a lime or a ping pong ball and you have to balance it and pass it to your friend on the other side. So parents, you can do fun activities like that, as simple as using a lime at home. Limau, right? We all use limau, yeah. So in spoon, you can just play among the siblings or even parent and the child. So these are really fun. And of course, this is where sorting comes in. Dry and wet pouring, you can get for a dry pouring, maybe you can get the kids to scoop rice and transfer the rice that is like dry pouring. If wet pouring, you can get them water, a tray of water, and get them to transfer the water. So that's called wet pouring. And of course, you can do fine motor skills in terms of counting. You can use cotton swab or many interesting ways. Okay, some parents, I also noticed they have asked in the question, like how to improve the wrist strength. The wrist strength. So you can do push and pull heavy load. It's very good to lift really heavy things to improve the wrist strength. You can also carry like heavy backpack. All right. And of course, not forgetting our matching, where you can use do worksheets involving Velcro. I think that is very, we use it in Genius Kurnia a lot. We have matching activities or even transferring activities using Velcro. So they will have to use a lot of strength in order to pull the Velcro. Okay. And since today is a Friday, this is a fun fact Friday for all of us. So if you remember, much earlier, I explained actually why small muscles are much more challenging compared to gross motor. Gross motor is your bigger muscles. So if you actually look at the fun fact, smaller muscles of the body, they tire out more easily than the larger muscles in your arms and legs. So endurance and strength must be built up gradually before your child's dexterity can improve. So this is where much earlier, when I said it requires a lot of practices. It's very, very different to gross motor, because gross motor is all about, okay, your arms, your legs, going to a playground probably is much more easier because your muscles are much, much bigger. But fine and smaller muscles, they will tire out. That's why if you actually notice, when some of your kids do writing, they do not want to do a lot of writing because they tire out much sooner than they have to. And specifically for autistic children, right? Another fun fact is, in terms of fine motor skills, they tend to delay by a year. This is just an approximate year that I'm giving, is based on research that they have been doing. All right. Okay, so right now I will go to, I'll show you some videos that I've prepared for all of you. And this is done, actually I did not prepare, my team in Genius Kurnia is called Class Rocket. So a huge shout out, a huge thank you to all our dedicated teachers who are very hardworking, who actually during this MCO, they're trying to help all the children at home. So they've actually come up with small, simple videos that you can do at home. So I hope you enjoy looking at the videos. I would like to say thank you to Teacher Wani, Teacher Azwan, and Teacher Nisa. Thank you so much for preparing all the videos. And this is a short clip. So the first video 1, is about opening and closing bottle caps. Okay, just a moment.
Okay, so video 1, please. Just give us a second. Please, I'll go back to slide.
Okay.
You help me lah with the slide. Oh. Okay, so that was the video 1, and now we will look at video 2. Now we look at video 2, which is using spray bottles, where this is where it involves your tripod grasp. So I'm sure all of you at home, you have your hi. So if you notice just now, that was video 2, and that is actually your spray bottle. Your spray bottle, like I mentioned before, it uses your tripod grasp for your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger. So if you actually notice your spray bottles at home, even like Februari, where you spray your sofa for antibacterial sprays, so you can get the kids. So instead of parents, mommy and daddy, instead of you doing all these chores at home, you can get the kids to spray. So this actually improves their fine motor skills as well. Okay, now we'll look at video 3. Okay, so just now if you look, it's already, just now, sorry, if you look, it was video 3, it was transferring coins. Okay, so it's actually important why transferring coins. If you actually try to place your 20 cent or your 50 cent coin on the table, it's, for example, give me a moment. If you actually look at this coin, if you put on top and you try to pick it, okay, it's much more challenging for the children. So this is a good way of doing that as well. And probably I'll show you one more video before we do our closing. One more video, that will be video 4, the rubber band exercise. All right, so parents or teachers and professionals, if you are looking at the video 4, you saw it's rubber band exercises. As simple as taking a jar, opening the rubber band, you can put the jar, okay, you get the child, you can either do this or you can get 2 hands and put it over, okay. This is a very fun activity to do. Okay, and so yeah, that is some of the strategies that you can do at home. I hope it is very helpful. So before I end my talk for today, I hope parents, you are able to get some insights of what fine motor skills is all about, why is it very, very important, and what are some of the activities that can be done at home right now during MCO. So before I close my talk for today, I have some interesting YouTube video to do with you. So parents, to all the parents who are with your kids, please get a Play-Doh or a Therapathy if you have with you. We can do a simple finger gym exercise right now, okay? All right. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Early Years Emily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're happy and you know it's butterflies, clap, clap. If you're happy and you know it's butterflies, clap, clap. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it's butterflies, clap, clap. If you're happy and you know it, roll a ball. If you're happy and you know it, roll a ball. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, roll a ball. If you're happy and you know it's butter prod, prod, prod. If you're happy and you know it's butter prod, prod, prod. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it's butter prod. With your happy finger family, give a wave. With your happy finger family, give a wave. Bye bye. If you like it, let me know. To subscribe, just click below.
Okay, so I hope that short video is really was fun for you guys, for all the parents and kids out there. I hope you're able to do. So parents, you can just practice it by pressing your first, second, third, fourth, fifth finger. Okay, so you can just practice it at home. So I hope that was really, really helpful. Due to short of time, and so I'm going to answer a few questions that I've already gotten from our parents from Genius Kurnia. So the first, I'm just going to address a few questions because we're running out of time. So the first question will be, macam mana saya boleh asah lagi cara anak saya pegang pensel dengan betul? So okay, so this to answer this question, right? There is a method called backward chaining. Sorry, not backward chaining. All right. So first of all, you need to build the muscle memory first. So where you use your thumb, your index finger, your middle finger, what you can do, you can take a stick or a chopstick. Okay, for example, if this is a chopstick, you can get them to only use these 3 fingers and walk frontwards and walk backwards. Yeah, so you can get them to practice like that. Okay, another one will be, I'll give you actually 6 handwriting hacks that you can use at home for all your kids, okay, to improve your writing skills. Of course, you have to do more fine motor activities such as like cutting or tearing paper into small pieces, but you can start with big pieces first. All right, let me give you a few tips. Okay, of course, the first one, you can use Terapati. If you look, this is the blue color. This is the firm one. So you can press or you can squeeze it, okay, or you can pull. So it requires more strength. This is one way of improving their writing. And untuk pegangan pensel yang betul, these are your 6 writing hacks, I would say. I hope it's very useful to you. The first one will be, of course, the Terapati. Second is, okay, basically when we want the child to hold the pencil, we hold them like that, right? A tripod. So what we can do is, you can get any small item, for example, like a ring or a coin, or you can, for kids, they love sweets. So maybe like sugus, a very small shaped sweet. You can put them, for example, I'm going to use the chain. You can put them at your last 2 fingers. So if you can see, I'm going to put it there and hold it with my last 2 fingers. So automatically they are holding the sweet here or any small item, and automatically it makes them to hold the pen this way. Okay, so it enhances their writing, pegangan pensel lah yang betul. Okay, so maybe you can use any other item, like you can use a coin, so for them to support it like that. So it's going to be a bit more challenging, but these are some of the skills that you can help. Another one is,
use a rubber band. This is your pencil. Use a rubber band. Put it inside. Okay, put it inside. All right, and then you twist it. You twist it and you put your hand in. Okay, to their wrist. Bring it to your wrist. Okay, and then can you see? Automatically you hold this way. Okay, these are some of your life writing hacks. So if you notice, if I were to do this, if I were to hold the pen, you know, if I were to do this, it puts the pen in place. So allowing the kids to hold it correctly. Another third one, with these two steps, you can also continue holding the sweet or the coin in the last two fingers this way. So can you see? It kind of helps them with to hold the pencil in a right way, in the right manner. Okay. And if let's say the rubber band irritates the child's skin, or they do not like the texture, they just don't like the whole rubber band, you can just take the pen. You can actually draw a dot in the middle like this, for example. You can draw a dot in the middle. Okay, and you can, this is like a visual reminder for the child to put the pencil here for them to hold. So if you see, it's like a reminder. Okay, that's like a visual reminder. And lastly, the sixth tip for handwriting is, if you notice, actually all our tables are flat. Okay, so when the child actually, I think some child, they have issue when they write, when they are writing, their arms is always tilted upwards. Imagine yourself writing this way, you feel is going to feel very painful after some time. So a smart way of improving your writing, another hack is, do you know the binder files where it looks like an arch, for example. Let me see. Okay, this is your file. Okay, the binder file is like it looks like an arch. Okay, so sorry. So what you do, you get the child. So for example, your binder, okay, so this is like the binder file, right? So eventually when your child writes, the gravity pulls the back of your arm downwards. So instead of being lifted like that and tiring their writing, the gravity kind of pulls them down. Okay. So these are simple writing skills. I hope it helps with your simple writing tips. So I hope it helps you. Next question. Okay, so that's done for this question. Next question is number 1. Bagaimana untuk saya ajar anak kemahiran membutang baju? So of course this is a manipulation skill. Okay, what you can do, this is a method where they call backward chaining. Okay, so maybe the first time parents, you can actually put the baju in front of them, and maybe if there are 6 buttons, for example, you can do 5 buttons and get them to do the last one only 1 button. So this is actually called backward chaining. Backward chaining means okay, letters A to Z is forward chaining, Z to A is backward chaining. So you start the last step first. So maybe you do 5 and you get them to do 1 first. Okay, and then and once you can use a toy, maybe like I said just now, doll dressing. So you can put the shirt on the doll, like putting on the shirt for the doll, and you button 1 by 1. Okay, and gradually increase the number of buttons that they will have to put on. So for example, like just now I said, start with 1, gradually increase it to 2, and then probably 3. So this is called scaffolding technique. Okay, where you increase the difficulty of the task according to the child's ability to complete it. Okay, so those are some of the technique you can use. And probably I'll go with the last question. Last question is probably number 6. Anak saya menghadapi kesukaran untuk menggunakan dayung untuk menceduk air. Pergelangan tangan dia tak cukup kuat. Apakah senaman yang boleh saya lakukan? So this is basically all about your wrist, strengthening your wrist. So what you can do, I can't show you my knee right now, but imagine both your knees are here. Okay, imagine this is your knee. Okay, this is your knee. You put your hand just resting like that. Okay, just resting like that. This is your knee, yeah? So resting. I can't show you my knee. Okay, if I were to show, it's like this. Okay, I'm so sorry. I cannot show you, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. This is your knee. This is your wrist. You just relax. What you can do, you can carry a heavy load this way 10 times. Tilt it upwards 10 times. Once you're done, place it the other way and do this. Carry it this way. Okay, so this way 10 times and opposite 10 times. Okay, you can do that. Also, you can do wheelbarrow exercises, push and pull heavy load items, hanging on, swinging or on monkey bar, or even hanging on monkey bar. You know, at the playground, they have the bars. It's called monkey bar. So swinging or hanging on them. Of course, therapy is going to help you as well. And pronation on therapy ball. So pronation is basically lying on your tummy on the therapy ball or the gym ball and rolling forward like a wheelbarrow into a wheelbarrow position. So you can, parents, you can do this while getting the kids to complete like puzzle or sorting tasks while lying on the therapy ball. Okay. So that is all for all the questions. I'm so sorry I cannot answer more questions due to the lack of time. I'm really sorry. I hope you enjoyed today's talk and session. So thank you so much. Signing off, I'm Rebecca again, and thank you and see you next time. And I'll hand it over to Puan Hani. Bye. Thank you, Hani.
Okey, terima kasih semua kepada panel kita Miss Rebecca, dan mudah-mudahan program hari ini dapat memberi input yang banyak kepada semua yang menyertai program hari ini dan dapat sama-sama membantu anak-anak kita di rumah. Jangan lupa untuk terus bersama kami dalam program OOTG untuk topik yang lebih menarik akan datang. InsyaAllah, semoga berjumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum. Bye.